The WNBA All-Star roster reveal was supposed to be a celebration, a crown jewel moment highlighting the best of the best. But instead, it's turned into a battlefield. Snubs, shaded veterans, rookies rising on pure hype. And at the center of it all, you guessed it, Caitlin Clark. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. The golden child, the ratings magnet, the fan vote queen. Depending on who you ask, she's either saving the league or single-handedly tearing it apart. Because when the all-star teams dropped in names like Brittany Sykes, Kayla McBride, and Brianna Jones were nowhere to be found, people didn't just raise eyebrows. They raised pitchforks. And once again, the conversation turned into, is Caitlin Clark's popularity helping the game or hijacking it? Let's break it down. The fan vote frenzy. The WNBA decided to go all in on fan engagement this year. Social media campaigns, voting portals, hashtag galore. The league wanted fans involved, and they got their wish. Clark supporters turned out in full force, flooding the vote like it was a Taylor Swift ticket presale. Result? Caitlin Clark landed a captain spot alongside Nphisa Collier. Not shocking, considering her fan base could probably outvote an entire state. But here's where things got spicy. The final all-star roster read more like a who's who of popular names, and not necessarily a list of the league's top performers. Clark's presence is powerful, but is it overpowering? Veterans left in the dust. Let's talk about the snubs. Brittany Sykes, a two-way beast, a relentless defender, has been dragging her team through tough games all season. Kayla McBride, consistent, efficient, dangerous from deep. Brianna Jones, double-double machine when healthy. All three sitting at home while rookies with streaky stat lines are headed to the main event. It's not just a few missing names. It's a pattern, a red flag. These are players who've paid their dues, contributed year after year, and yet were passed over. Why? Because in 2025, it's not about stats. It's about momentum, hype, headlines. And nothing says headline like Caitlin Clark. Rookies riding the wave. Now, nobody's mad at Sonia Citron or Kiki Rice for showing up. But even they probably know this came quicker than expected. The league needs youth representation, sure, but there's a difference between future potential and present dominance. And this year, the line blurred. Hard. Citron's had some great games, no question. Kiki brings energy and raw athleticism. But if we're being brutally honest, they didn't outplay the vets. They just outtrended them. Social media gives rookies the kind of boost it used to take years to earn. Now, one viral clip, one endorsement, or one shared moment with Clark is all it takes to become an all-star. And that's what's causing the backlash. Was this really about merit? Let's address the elephant in the room. Timing. Voting for the all-star game likely locked in weeks before this announcement, which means players who went on hot streaks recently. Irrelevant. Players who were in slumps when votes were counted still made it. It's like judging a school project before the final presentation. The data is incomplete. The context? Missing. And that's a problem if the goal is to reward peak performance. Fans voted based on hype cycles, not full season consistency, which is how we ended up with rookies over reigning veterans and social stars over stat leaders. Clark's influence, a double-edged sword. There's no denying Caitlin Clark's popularity has been good for business. The league's never seen this kind of attention. Sellouts, national headlines, major brands lining up. She's a marketing machine. But when your face is on every highlight reel, your fans don't just follow, you lead them. And right now, Clark's presence is tilting the playing field. When her fan base dominates the vote, her teammates, friends, and rookies she supports ride that wave. Everyone else? Fighting for scraps. Even if they've been more deserving on paper. This is where things get complicated. Because while Clark might not ask for favoritism, the system is designed to give it to her. And the veterans know it. Is the All-Star Game still about basketball? Here's the brutal truth. All-Star Games haven't been about pure basketball in a long time. They're entertainment. They're branding showcases. They're content farms for the league's social media feeds. But there was still an expectation of fairness. of balance, of performance being rewarded. This year, that illusion shattered. The All-Star game isn't just entertainment now. It's a referendum on league politics. Who's hot? Who's marketable? And who's on the outside looking in? The idea that the WNBA fired veteran contributors from all-star consideration because they weren't part of the fan circus? It's not that far-fetched. Maybe not literally, but symbolically, 100%. The live draft pressure cooker. Now, here's where it gets deliciously messy. Caitlin Clark and Fisa Collier are set to draft their teams live on air. It's not just who's playing. It's who gets picked first, who gets picked last, and who gets the cold shoulder altogether. Clark is going to have to make a choice. Double down on hype, or show some love to the vets who've been vocal about their exclusion. Does she pick Sonia Citron first and give the haters more ammo? Or does she shock everyone by picking someone like Sykes or McBride to show respect? This draft is about more than team chemistry. It's about league unity. And right now, that unity feels fractured. Are we watching a culture shift? Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a symbol of a new WNBA, one driven by clicks, culture, and charisma. The old-school hierarchy is cracking. Social media clout matters as much as playoff wins. And if you're not part of the new wave, you might get left behind. Players are watching. Coaches are watching. And so are brands. The league is becoming more about narrative than numbers. Is that sustainable? Maybe, but it's going to create friction. The same veterans being snubbed today might be the ones Clark needs to rely on tomorrow. And if the All-Star game becomes a popularity club instead of a talent celebration, the long-term respect for the event, and for Clark, might suffer. The WNBA's tightrope walk. The league is in a tough spot. On one hand, it needs Caitlin Clark. She's the most talked-about athlete in women's sports right now. On the other hand, the league needs its veterans, too. The players who laid the groundwork, who kept it going when cameras weren't watching, who gave the WNBA its grit, toughness, and soul. Ignoring that balance is risky. Alienating the vets could fracture locker rooms and fuel bitterness. Ignoring the fan frenzy could stall momentum. So what's the solution? Maybe it's time to revisit the voting system. Blend fan votes with coach and media input. Weight performance more heavily. Make the voting window more responsive to recent games. Create a panel to ensure that consistent contributors aren't left off while hype trains run wild. Because right now, the All-Star game feels like it's playing favorites. And if that continues, players might start opting out. Or worse, fans might stop trusting the process. Caitlin Clark didn't rig the system. She played the game. And she played it brilliantly. But her shadow is long, and her spotlight, blinding. If it keeps burning this hot, it could melt the very foundation the league was built on. The All-Star controversy isn't just about a roster. It's about identity. Who gets to be elite? Who decides? And what happens when marketing wins over merit? Clark's influence is undeniable, but the league needs to decide whether that influence should rewrite the rules or respect them. All eyes now turn to the draft. Will Clark restore balance? Or will the snub vet stay snubbed and the rift grow deeper? Either way, one thing's for sure, the WNBA has never been this dramatic, and we'll all be watching. What's truly fascinating is how the veterans of the WNBA are no longer playing the quiet game. In past years, a snub from the All-Star roster might have been met with a vague tweet or a cryptic Instagram story. But now, players are speaking loudly. Brittany Sykes, for example, didn't just move on. She took to social media and posted a screenshot of her stats with a simple caption, "Make it make sense." That's not passive-aggressive. That's straight-up aggressive-aggressive. And she's not alone. Players across the league have started to openly question what the All-Star game is even supposed to mean anymore. Is it a celebration of elite play? Or is it a glorified influencer meetup? These women have fought for legitimacy in a sport that's been criminally under-resourced for decades. Now that it's finally getting attention, the last thing they want is to see it reduced to a popularity pageant. And honestly, can you blame them? Clark is a catalyst, not the culprit. It's important to say this plainly. Caitlin Clark didn't do anything wrong. She showed up. She played. She racked up votes. She's engaging with fans. She's bringing in ratings the league has never seen before. The people showing up to boo her bought tickets. The network's giving her prime time, not doing it out of charity. But even if she didn't create the system, she's now undeniably shaping it. Her presence, her picks, her vibe, they all carry outsized weight. She's the axis the WNBA is spinning around right now, and that comes with a level of responsibility that's uncomfortable. Because when your rise coincides with other players' fall, even if it's not your fault, the optics are harsh, especially when you're new, especially when the players being displaced have spent years earning their spots. That tension, it's real, and it's simmering. The media machine keeps spinning. You can already feel the media framing this as a changing of the guard moment. The golden girl from Iowa taking over a league that's been waiting for someone like her. But that narrative, intentional or not, implies that what came before wasn't enough. And that's the part that stings. Players like Alyssa Thomas, Ariel Atkins, or even Elena Del Don, who stepped back due to health but defined a generation, they weren't placeholders. They built the league. They kept it afloat. And now, they're being overshadowed by someone who's been here less than 6 months. Media loves a new narrative. But sometimes, in chasing the next big thing, they bulldoze everything in its path. Clark is being made the centerpiece of a story that never fully credited the women who wrote the first chapters. All-star or all-drama. With the draft looming, the energy is tense. The WNBA says it wants fun. A splashy, personality-driven event. Drama for the timeline. Quotes for the headlines. But they're also walking into a cultural minefield. Every pick Clark makes will be analyzed for political subtext. Every snub will be framed as personal. If she skips a veteran, disrespect. If she favors a rookie, nepotism. If she picks Nneka Agwemike early, damage control. There's no way to win when the court of public opinion is this loud and this polarized. But there's a way to lead. Clark can set a tone, not by picking perfectly, but by picking with purpose, recognizing the players who deserve it, not just the ones who ride the wave. This draft isn't just about basketball. It's about legitimacy. And everyone watching knows it. Behind the scenes, the league watches carefully. Make no mistake, the WNBA front office is watching this play out in real time, probably with gritted teeth. They wanted attention. They got it. Now they have to figure out what to do with it. The All-Star controversy has cracked open a conversation the league might not have been ready for, about what kind of league it wants to be. One that rewards popularity and virality, or one that continues to value grit, consistency, and quiet dominance? This crossroads is where a lot of leagues have stumbled. We've seen it in the NBA, in the NFL, even in tennis and soccer. The hype machine runs hot, and sometimes it runs over the people who built the foundation. So now the WNBA must decide. Is it going to be a league of loud moments or a league of lasting ones? Players taking the power back. Another fascinating development, players are organizing, talking behind the scenes, sharing screenshots, creating group chats to rally support for one another. The veterans aren't just mad, they're mobilizing. Some are calling for changes to the all-star voting format. Others want players and coaches to get more say. A few are even suggesting boycotts. Quiet ones, of course. But make no mistake, the message is clear. They will not go quietly into the background. Caitlin Clark is a big name, but the league isn't just one player. And the players know that. They're ready to push back against a narrative that all-star status equals relevancy, especially if the process seems as flawed. A league divided? Not yet, but close. It would be easy to say the WNBA is split right now. Team Clark versus Team everyone else. But that's oversimplified. What's really happening is more subtle and more fragile. A cultural shift is underway. One where the old-school values of the league, team-first mentality, defensive toughness, slow and steady rise, are being tested by a new era of visibility, marketing, and media amplification. Clark didn't invent that shift, but she represents it, which makes her the flashpoint for all this tension. Whether that leads to division or evolution, that's up to the league and its players to decide. Final thoughts. What comes next? This year's WNBA All-Star Game was supposed to be a celebration. Instead, it's turned into a referendum on identity, merit, and fame. And honestly, that might be a good thing. Because the hard questions are finally being asked. What should an all-star be? What role should fans play in selections? How do you honor veterans while embracing the next generation? And can a league grow quickly without growing pains? Clark's impact is undeniable. But the WNBA's strength has always come from its community, its camaraderie, its refusal to pit women against each other just to sell tickets. If the All-Star Game becomes a symbol of division, the league loses. But if it becomes a platform for honest discussion, mutual respect, and growth, then maybe all this drama was worth it. Let's call it what it is. The WNBA has entered the era of Clarkification. Everything, from marketing campaigns to broadcast decisions to merchandise drops, seems to revolve around Caitlin Clark. Her name trends weekly. Her jerseys are sold out, and her every move is broken down on SportsCenter like we're watching Game 7 of the finals. For longtime players and fans, this sudden shift in attention is jarring. It's not just that Clark is popular. It's that the league is investing almost all its promotional energy into her. And while that strategy is undoubtedly driving numbers, it also risks flattening the rich diversity of stories that have carried the league for decades. Why isn't Eriko Gunbowl getting her due for dropping 25 points a night with unmatched flair? Where's the media coverage for Cheyenne Parker-Tyes battling in the post or Natasha Cloud leading with relentless fire on both ends of court? The WNBA isn't lacking stars. It's just chosen bet the house on one, and the rest of the league is noticing. She's great, but a league full of complex sentiments. Here's where it gets complicated. Nobody denies that Caitlin Clark is talented. No one's blind to her gravity, on the court and in the media. But admiration and irritation can coexist. And in locker rooms across the league, players are talking in hushed tones and DMs. She's great, but why are they acting like she invented the game? She's talented, but so are we. Where's our shine? These sentiments aren't rooted in jealousy. They're about equity, about feeling erased in the same space you helped build. This kind of dissonance doesn't explode all at once. It brews. And the All-Star Game, with its bright lights and glaring omissions, poured gasoline on those simmering embers. The fan divide, diehards versus newcomers. And then there's the fandom, a tale of two audiences. On one side, you have the diehards, fans who've been watching since the Lisa Leslie days, who know the difference between all defense and all hype. They care deeply about the game's integrity and are rightfully annoyed that stats and legacy didn't seem to matter in the All-Star picks. On the other side, you've got the newcomers, fresh, excited, and loyal to Clark like she's a pop star. They're here for her TikToks, her logo threes, and her headband flipping in slow-mo. They've brought a much-needed surge of energy, but they're also reshaping the culture, sometimes without understanding what came before. The league needs both camps to thrive. But right now, it feels like they're clashing more than connecting. The psychological toll on the locker room. Imagine grinding for years, training camps, 10-day contracts, overseas winters, blown knees, comeback seasons, and then being told, without words or through actions, that your resume means less than a viral highlight. That's the message some veterans feel the all-star roster sent. The mental toll of being passed over, especially when you've done everything right, hits different when the spotlight lands on a rookie still adjusting to the league's pace. Players aren't just hurt. They're disillusioned. And when you lose the trust of your locker rooms, the culture suffers. That kind of erosion isn't fixed by a single game. It festers. And if the WNBA doesn't address it head-on, it risks creating divides that linger long after the banners are raised. Behind the cameras, the business dilemma. From a business standpoint, the Clark strategy makes sense. She's a revenue generator. Her name sells tickets, drives up ratings, and finally has brands that once ignored women's hoops knocking at the WNBA's door. But here's the uncomfortable truth. A league built on one player is a house of cards. What happens if Clark gets injured? What if her performance dips? What if fans lose interest after the novelty wears off? The WNBA must use this moment to broaden its spotlight, not narrow it. Build narratives around the players dominating defensively. Tell the stories of the international talents elevating the game. Let fans meet the glue players, the enforcers, the comeback queens. If the Clark era becomes a silo, the league's growth will be brittle. If it becomes a bridge, the league will be unstoppable. The unseen pressure on Caitlin Clark herself. And let's not forget, Caitlin Clark is still a rookie with the weight of a legacy on her shoulders. She didn't ask to be the league's marketing strategy. She didn't vote herself into captaincy. She didn't rig the all-star system. But she's now the face of all of it. The praise, the backlash, the expectations. Every misstep she makes is amplified. Every decision is dissected. She's expected to be a generational talent, a league ambassador, a culture shifter, and a perfect teammate, all before she's played a full season. That kind of pressure crushes most players. And if she falters, the same fans that elevated her might just flip the script. We've seen it happen before. So while some players are rightfully frustrated by how much space she occupies, it's also worth remembering the spotlight burns hot, and Clark is navigating it in real time. What needs to change going forward? So how do we move forward? How does the league turn this messy, high-drama moment into something productive? First, rethink the all-star voting process. A hybrid model that balances fan input with player, coach, and media votes could create a more balanced roster. Let fans engage, but ensure performance carries weight. Second, invest in more player storytelling. Use the same machine boosting Clark to shine a light on Jonquil Jones' paint dominance or Kalia Kappa's grit. Normalize celebrating everyone. Third, open dialogue within the league. Players need safe spaces to speak candidly about tensions, visibility, and media treatment. If it all stays behind closed doors, the resentment festers. And finally, give rookies room to grow. Let Clark be a player, not a brand mascot. Let her earn her stripes without the burden of carrying the league on her back. The All-Star game is a mirror. In the end, this All-Star roster wasn't just a list of names. It was a mirror reflecting everything the WNBA is grappling with right now. Growth versus tradition. Popularity versus merit. Unity versus division. It's not a bad thing. In fact, it's proof the league is evolving. These conversations, while messy, are signs of progress. They mean people care. They mean the stakes are higher than ever. But growth only works when it's inclusive. When the stars of yesterday are honored alongside the icons of tomorrow. When fans new and old feel seen. When the league builds not around one name, but around many. The All-Star controversy, it was inevitable. But how the league responds next, that's what will define this era.